the patron saint of all things terrifying and macabre, Scary Larry Dwyer, invites you across the pond for a nightmare filled with horror. British horror. That's right. You've stepped into season 4 of Scary Larry's House of Horrors. This time, it's Hammer time. Oh, and as normal, we'll be swearing a fucking lot and spoiling a ton of shit. You've been warned.
Someone's knocked something over.
You don't think something could be wrong? That we ought to go down there and see that he's...
Susan, isn't one rebuff enough for you?
In silence, Larry cracks into that fucking sandwich like a real fucking douche nozzle. Oh. Well, we're back. It's another episode of Scary Larry's House of Horrors. We're talking about Hammer this time, season 4. My name is John.
My name is Lloyd.
Lloyd, you fucking blew it. We're all John this time.
We're all John?
We're all John. We just discussed this.
He wasn't paying attention.
You were thinking about tits, weren't you?
He's like the kids on the baseball team I coached. Yeah. Don't fucking pay any attention to me.
All right, I'll start over and I'll just edit it in here. My name is John.
My name is John.
My name is John.
And I'm Scary John.
Oh,
no, that's true.
No, that's the first lie we're going to tell you tonight.
It's funny. We're all Johns.
Yeah. So this is the second episode. Of course, we are talking about Hammer horror films. We are back after our episode about The Devil Rides Out from 1968 back in January. Well, here we are. We're in 1971, and we're talking all about Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. Let's get into it.
Let's rock!
Now, before we talk about the production of this thing, John from over the pond.
Which John? Oh,
actual John.
Okay.
English John.
Got it.
Right. Yes.
Where does this film fall for you in like favorites? I know we're going to rate it at the end, and I don't want you to jump in on a rating, but like, right. Is this a mainstay? Do you go back to this one a lot, or is this kind of like, oh, I haven't seen this in a bit?
No, well, actually, this was one that I discovered in the last 5 or 6 years and have watched it pretty much every year since I discovered it. So it has become a top favorite of mine within Hammer films. Again, we'll rank it later on, but yeah, it's a good one. It's a strong one. I feel like there's that period between sort of the late 60s and early 70s with Hammer where you either get the fact that they've hit their groove in some way, or you bail out because you're a fan of like the very early late 50s, early 60s ones, and you think that the late 60s, early 70s ones are too much, or you're a fan of like the later ones and you consider this where they're hitting their peak. And I'm more on that second side, I think.
All right. Lloyd, I'm going to assume you're like me. You've never seen this before.
I'm not choosing sides yet because I don't have enough. I've never seen it before. Nope.
Well, that's what I mean. I have never seen this before, so you've never seen this before either.
Nope.
All right. Larry, you picked it. What about this film made you decide to put it in our, what we're doing, like 5?
So much like British John, this is a newer, I'm trying to think how long, pre-COVID. So, but I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was after I started Connecticut Cult Classics. This is one that I'd heard of. I'd read the title. I have a million books on movies and things like that. So I'd seen the title, but was like, that sounds fucking crazy. I never really searched it out. Like, there's a lot of Hammer stuff that obviously the Christopher Lee stuff is just something you had to watch. And, Devil Rides Out, something you had to watch. But this kind of flew under the radar until maybe same as John, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And when I finally watched it, I remember I think I purchased it on DVD from Amazon. Might have even been on sale. And when I watched it, excuse me, I'm burping the meatloaf sandwich.
I'm watching you try not to throw up all of your food.
No, I'm not gonna throw up. It's delicious. But,
it's a real treat watching you try to keep your food like in your throat.
So I literally ran home. I ended baseball practice early, ran home, threw together this meatloaf sandwich, ran down here, and had to try to scarf it down. So I'm burping it. But anyway, and when I watched it, I was like, I can't believe it took me so long. Again, we'll get to ratings, but fuck, this is so much fun. And if any of you don't think so, fuck off right now. Fuck right off the episode.
All right, fair enough.
All right,
Manster, tell us all
That's
about
an ultimatum.
Get off this episode right the fuck now.
Just to hang up, press stop, whatever you got to do. Just get out of here.
Asshole listeners. Manster, tell us all about the production on this film.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I could find, and I'm hoping maybe across the pond, John can jump in. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe give a little insight on some things. But this came out.
I also want to point out, just because I'm originally from England doesn't mean I have insider knowledge.
You
on every Hammer.
Yeah, you do. You wrote a book.
Hammer wasn't part of your family? Like, I thought you were part of the family that owned Hammer Films.
No, I mean, it was part of my upbringing, but like I say, I don't know the behind the scenes and everything. Although I did watch the Blu-ray extras last night, just so I have a little bit rolling around.
I wish I had that now.
The interview with Martine, right?
Yes.
Is on there. Yeah, very interesting. She's a lot of fun. She seems like she'd be a lot of fun to hang out with.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I wish she'd had more of like a Caroline Munro kind of career, so that we had seen her in more popular kind of stuff.
Agreed.
All right. So released on October 17th, 1971, directed by Roy Ward Baker. This guy's got the old classic story of starting in a mailroom, 1933, working his way up and, becoming director.
Isn't that the Roger Corman story too? Didn't he start in a mailroom? I think Corman did as well.
I worked in a mailroom.
I think he did, yeah.
And technically before that, because you did ask me to step in, technically before that, he was the tea boy at the studios, which is in England one of the most important jobs on the planet. If you're
just to make tea?
Yes, tea boy, and then he brings like a whole tray
crumpets,
tea and crumpets and things. Yeah.
More importantly, though, because I got to get into this in this movie, was there a hot potato boy on any sets?
Hot potato, governor.
John, again, I hate to throw you under here because of your nature of being from England. At any point, was just like I'm not even talking about baked potatoes. I'm just talking about warmed up hot potatoes. A snack food in the streets.
Jacket potatoes.
Yes, potato, baked potatoes. Yeah, I don't know. So growing up, not in the streets anymore, although certainly I love to think of London as just being like Cockney street vendors selling whelks and things and hot potatoes and things. But it wasn't. The most I could say is that on the streets around the wintertime, we would definitely get like hot nut sellers, like people selling like, I don't know, hot nuts, hot peanuts,
little cones full of hot nuts.
Yeah, right. So we definitely got that in London, but no, I mean, baked potatoes are a big thing. It would normally be at like a carnival or a fairground or like a bonfire night or something like that. There'll be like a baked potato stand in the way that you would have like a fried dough stand here or whatever. Like it would be a baked potato stand and you'd be able to get cheese and bacon and mayonnaise and whatever you want on top of it.
I get the baked / jacket potatoes. This movie, I know it's 1888 in this movie, but this movie, it's just some dude like heating up fucking red hot potatoes and handing them to people.
It was just one step away from having an organ grinder and having Oliver Twist, like run through the thing. Like one of the things, and again, I don't want to stop the production notes, but one of the things that's amazing about this movie is the way it sets up London. It's a complete amalgam of every Victorian London you've ever seen. They stopped short of having Sherlock Holmes and Oliver Twist, but apart from that, everything else. There's even the like prostitutes singing alone. Song.
You know, that's my fucking favorite. That's my favorite. I love singing prostitutes.
I just thought any minute now.
I won't hire a prostitute unless she sings.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah. I wanted My Fair Lady. I would just put it all together. Just get all the Victorian grumbly London people together. It was fantastic. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Back to Roy Ward Baker. So also served in the British Army in World War II as a production manager and director of documentaries.
Yeah.
He is known for directing A Night to Remember, which is a reconstitution of the Titanic, and also some Hammer films, The Vampire Lovers, Scars of Dracula, Legend of the Seven Vampires, which I think we may be hearing.
We'll hear some more
Some
about
of
Ward
those,
Baker.
Yep.
Worked on some TV, The Saint, The Avengers, and a lot of other stuff.
What is the Avengers? I've read a lot about.
Oh, that's fucking hot ass Diana Rigg, man.
Yeah. So it's the Avengers was like a very campy kind of TV spy show where you would have Patrick McNee being a very kind of proper English gent with a bowler hat and cane, and then, as you said, either Honor Blackman or Diana Rigg as Emma Peel. And the reason why she's called Emma Peel is they wanted a character that had man appeal or male appeal, and so they just took the M and then went Emma Peel. That's
clever.
So clever.
They tried to remake it as a big budget movie with Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman and Sean Connery as the bad guy, and it flopped horribly. But it's one of those, like, we should all go back and watch it because it actually might be kind of a rare cult camp classic, or it might just be as horrible as we all remember.
I'm not familiar. Yeah, I didn't watch the show, but I did see the movie around the time it came out, and I just remember thinking this is fucking awful. And it was a huge bomb. It wasn't what drove Connery away from acting, but it probably was like the second to last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, he did that, and then he did like
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and both ones were considered massive flops. Yeah, in this one, he's dressed up as a giant teddy bear in the Avengers movie. And he has a table full of noblemen all dressed up as giant teddy bears. I don't know. That's all I remember. You know, it's very Austin Powers. Like, there's a lot of the Avengers in Austin Powers. Just like, there's a lot of Bond and stuff, but there's a lot of Avengers in there as well.
Screenplay by Brian Clemens, who claims to be related to Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain.
Check his 23 and me.
Yeah, I didn't check. I didn't bother checking.
He's actually related to John. He's actually 11% related.
Probably related to Roger Clemens from the Red Sox.
He is. He's my 11th cousin.
Yeah.
He wrote dozens of B movies. He also wrote and directed Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right. And then also some TV, The Invisible Man, The Avengers. These guys did some stuff together. Of course, it's based on the 1886 novella by Robert Louis Stevenson, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Pretty famous piece of English lit, I would say. Kind of defines the gothic horror genre. And everybody knows what Jekyll and Hyde, even if they don't know what the movie is, they know what Jekyll and Hyde means, right?
I looked up Jekyll and Hyde today, the book, the original novella, because I wanted to know where it landed time-wise. Because in this movie, the movie takes place in 1888 because of the Jack the Ripper stuff, which we'll get into. Burke and Hare, which were real murderers, was in early, like, 1828. So I'm like, they're obviously jumping time. The Curious Case was supposed to be early 1800s. But then, like, it just blew my mind because I don't know, I don't think that deeply about stuff, is that a lot of people over the years have argued that that book and the story of Jekyll and Hyde is like an allegory for homosexuality and like your inner rage about being different or.
Yeah, I read some of that too.
And obviously this movie's all about this shit. Like it's insane, but I never had thought about that. I never thought, and who knows, maybe it's not supposed to be, but it's viewed as that. But yeah, a lot of time jumping in this movie in terms of what should be where.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just throw in any Victorian cliches and archetypes and it would work. The only thing is having something like a Sherlock Holmes in there would sort of, maybe mess with the general story. But I suppose the police could have, who were investigating the Ripper murders, you could have had Sherlock Holmes like in the background. You could have had like one scene. They could have got Cushing in to play Holmes one more time. And you could have had one scene with Cushing in there. That would have been great.
I think I saw Tiny Tim in one scene.
Yeah, right. Tiny Tim was
Like, there he is.
Yes, at one point it should have panned past a window and an old
Ebenezer
man should have
Scrooge.
thrown up a window and gone, "Boy, what day is this? Why, it's Christmas Day. Don't you know it's Christmas Day every day in London?"
Here's £5, boy. Get the biggest turkey your hands can get on.
After
God.
all, there's only one more sleep till Christmas. There should have been Muppet.
The Muppets,
mice and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
No cheeses for the Mises.
Yeah. You could do a supercut of all the kind of Victorian London movies and things like that. And in fact, Jekyll and Hyde has been translated not once but twice into a movie musical. The first one had Spencer Tracy and Donald Pleasance in it, which is just baffling. And then the second one, even weirder, had David Hasselhoff in it. So
Oh, right. Because wasn't there? That was a pretty popular stage play for a while. Sebastian Bach was Jekyll, right? Or Jekyll and Hyde at one point.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. I was just looking up movie adaptation.
I think that's the same Broadway show that Hasselhoff took over eventually, and then they must have done a film version of it.
Yeah, it's just a TV movie with him and Colleen Sexton.
Oh my God. All right, so back to this movie. Filmed in 6 weeks, starting in February of 1971. And primarily everything was just at Elstree Studios, stages 3 and 4. And ready? Borehamwood, Hertfordshire, England.
Nice. You got it right
Good.
this time.
Yeah. It has that nice foggy street atmosphere. I guess there was a lot of sliding sets and streets to make it look like, more actual streets, but just all studio stuff. And it did a good job. So you said there was others, but so there were also 2 previous Hammer Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Another one that year. I think they put out 2 that year. Hands of the Ripper. Wasn't that the same year?
Was that after, maybe?
Oh, I'm sorry, not Jekyll and Hyde, but 2 movies about Jack the Ripper. I'm mixing up my my British.
Well, they mix up a lot of
into
British
this
stuff
movie.
in this.
Yeah.
But Hammer did put out 2 movies with Jack the Ripper that year.
Hammer also put out 4 movies that year that featured jacket potatoes.
How many
And
movies with
governors.
singing prostitutes?
Yeah.
3.
3. Good.
A little story about the nudity scenes. So the director Baker in Beswick, who John will get into, basically argued.
I never touched her.
Argued over her nudity. She had agreed to do topless scenes, but he really pushed hard for her to do full frontal. And she's like, no, it's not going to serve the movie. Anyway, she finally caved, but they agreed on a closed set, which apparently, according to her, crew members were literally like hanging from the rafters just to try to get a peek.
Yeah, she agreed to basically do the scene where she takes off her clothes and runs around the corner and puts on the red curtain dress. She kind of very quickly makes a dress out of a curtain. I think you see her like ass. I don't.
Yeah, you see her
this.
butt for like a half a second. And then there's another thing I found interesting. The transformation scene that was shot in the mirror was all one take. And I read how they did it, and then I tried to imagine it. So I went back and like really did a slow motion through there, and you can actually see it. So it is all one take, and Jekyll comes in. He sits in the chair in front of a mirror, puts his head down, and then when he like sits up, you see her in the mirror. Well, she really is there, but she's beside him. He's in a chair on the right side. She's on a chair just to his left, in a view of the mirror. So you see her reflection when they come up, and when they stand up, you can see a tiny bit of her shoulder come through the scene. So that's how I was able to figure out where they were relative to each other. But I thought that was pretty interesting. That way they kept it cheap and didn't have to do any, dissolves or cuts or anything like that. Pretty fun scene. The tagline was, John might remember, something like, "You'll see a man transform to a woman before your eyes," something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw the tagline. I rented a DVD copy from Best Video in Hamden, which they had, which was amazing. I did watch the trailer, And the trailer was fucking great. It's very, old school, old trailer.
Yeah.
There's a warning label.
The sexual transformation of a man into a woman will actually take place before your very eyes.
Oh, shit.
That's it. Yeah. Pretty serious stuff.
Not just a regular transformation, a sexual one.
Sexual.
It's my favorite kind of transformation.
Right.
And then I'll just mention one more thing. There was a remake of this in 1995 called Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde, starring Tim Daly from Wings and Sean Young.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a remake of it. It's just another gender bending.
Another gender bender. Yeah.
There's also a French version that is a gender bender version of this as well, I think.
Sean Young's an asshole, right? Didn't she have like some Catwoman bullshit? Like
Sean Young was the original hire to play Vicky Vale in Batman. She got hurt.
The Michael Keaton Batman.
The first Batman with Michael Keaton. She got hurt filming a scene on horseback that they took out of the movie, and they hired Kim Basinger to replace her. So when Tim Burton came back to make Batman Returns, she started stalking Tim Burton and showed up on some early night Ricky Lake or some bullshit, dressed like Catwoman. But he had already hired, he'd hired Annette Bening. Annette Bening was hired as Catwoman, but then Warren Beatty fucking jammed up in those guts and got her pregnant. So she had to drop out, and that's how we got Michelle Pfeiffer. So, but she felt like Tim Burton owed her a role, and he didn't owe her anything. She got hurt, unfortunately.
Right.
So, and she's
there had been stories about her in almost every movie that she was in. I mean, Blade Runner. There's stories behind the scenes of her and Harrison Ford having issues.
James Woods, right?
There's famous stories, but her and James Woods were both absolutely smacked off their face on coke during that movie, whatever movie they were. I know it's a movie about a drug dealer, but I think there was a lot of real drugs being taken on set. But yeah, it's her and James Woods did not get on, but then also fuck James Woods. So
yeah, sure.
I mean, some great movies back in the day, but now fuck James Woods.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but and in terms what I'm always cautious about with stories like this, and I'm not saying she's not an interesting or complicated woman, but in general, a lot of those stories we hear the same about Officer and a Gentleman woman who
Deborah
was
Winger.
Deborah Winger, blacklisted. I often wonder how much of it was actually them and how much of it was men being like, oh, she just keeps asking questions and wants to make things. You know what I mean? It was such a fucking, male show right up and it still is, but it was such a male time that I feel like, I don't know, were they really problematic or was it just men not unable?
I think the Winger stuff started with Shirley MacLaine though. I think it was on the set of Terms of Endearment. They hated each other.
But
MacLaine swung a lot of fucking weight back then in Hollywood.
But isn't Shirley MacLaine infamously problematic too? So
but she was also friends with Sinatra, which gets you places.
Right, exactly.
Wasn't Deborah Winger the voice of E.T.? Is that true? Right, she's E.T.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Deborah Winger is the voice of E.T.
Stop.
I'm serious.
No, that's Kip Winger.
That's Winger.
That's a whole different Winger.
All right, Master. Anything else?
I'm gonna send it right on over to you now.
All right, let's talk about the cast. Let's see who is in this fucking thing.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
All right, international action superstar Ralph Bates plays Dr. Henry Jekyll / spoiler alert, Jack the fucking Ripper. He's a Hammer vet. He's done some stuff with them. Fear in the Night, Taste the Blood of Dracula. But here's what I was surprised about. Didn't know this about him. If you remember back in the late 80s, there was an NBC sitcom called Dear John with Judd Hirsch. That lasted a few years. Well, it was based on a British sitcom of the same name that lasted 14 episodes, 2 seasons between 86 and 87. And Ralph Bates was John. So Ralph Bates was the John role in the British Dear John. We talked about her a few minutes ago. Martine Beswick plays Miss Edwina Hyde. She was a Bond girl. Two times from Russia with Love, What's Up? And Thunderball. And I didn't realize this. I've never seen this movie. She was also in, and I guess this is a Hammer film. I didn't know this either. 1 Million Years BC, the film that kind
Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch. Is that a Hammer film, John?
That was most definitely a Hammer film, yes.
I never saw it, but I never knew that.
Not a very good one, but it's iconic because of her fur bikini.
Raquel Welch.
Yeah, no,
Raquel
I know.
Welch. It's
I know
not a very good movie. I mean, it's got some interesting stop motion stuff in it, but it's about it.
Towards the end of her career, she was a 80s TV guest star in a lot of things. Quincy M.E., Falcon Crest, and The Fall Guy. She was in The Fall Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Sim plays Professor Robertson.
Fuck that guy.
Does anybody else think
lecherous.
this guy... He is. It says he's lecherous. I felt like he reminded me of who was the doctor in Bride of Frankenstein? Dr. Pretorius. He almost had a Pretorius vibe. But here's the best part.
Yeah,
about
very
this
condescending.
Yes.
Condescending prick.
Yeah, less effete, but more condescending.
Yeah.
He's in a film which I just think has the greatest title. There's two great titles I have in this cast list of films, British films. He's in a film called No Sex Please, We're British. Yes, that's a real thing. He was in Gandhi, and he was in the Harrison Ford thriller Patriot Games. Ivor Dean played William Burke, grave robber, murderer, bad guy. He was in a movie that has an even better title, British film, called, I love this, I'm going to get this tattooed on the back of my neck, Never Mind the Quality, Feel the Width.
No Sex Please We're British I've heard of before, but I've not heard of that width-based movie.
Never Mind the Quality, Feel the Width. Salt and Pepper, and The File of the Golden Goose. Huh. Susan Broderick plays Susan Spencer. Very short career. Her final role was in 1981. She did not die. She just retired, or at least to that point, she just retired from acting. She was in Blow Up in 1966 and a film called Enemy. And her character in this movie, and we'll get into it, is, sometimes
annoying.
John Cho in American Pie is credited. His character is credited as being the originator of the term MILF, because that was the first time, right? This is the first stage 5 clinger ever in a movie. This chick is in fucking sane.
Yeah. About a dude she doesn't even know.
Yeah, she doesn't know him.
Doesn't even know.
She gets jealous when she invites him to dinner, and he fairly politely says no. And then he seems to have other company. She gets crazy.
Yeah.
She's insane. She's absolutely insane. The final person.
And then the moment she hears it's his sister, she's like, oh, okay then. No, that's all right. I guess that's okay then. Yeah. All she does is live above the guy and has only just moved in. It's not like they've lived above each other and had a will they, won't they for the last 10 years. It's like they've lived above each other for 30 seconds. Yeah,
it's insane. If this movie was a little bit longer and showed more of their just life, and if everything went hunky dory, she would be fucking cutting up teddy bears and leaving the heads in his fucking mailbox, and she'd be slashing his tires. The final person I have in the cast list is Louis Fiander, who plays her brother Howard Spencer, Australian actor, tons of Australian theater, Hamlet, Moby Dick. But he was in a film called Georgia, a film called Who Can Kill a Child, and The VIPs. In the cast list, I did not take down the name of the woman who plays their mother, but I can tell you this. I looked it up today just because I was curious. 44 years old in this fucking movie. She looks 110.
I don't think she looked that old. I read somewhere that they called her the elderly mother.
She died in 1992 at 67 years old.
Wow.
She was 67 years old when this movie was made in 1970. I don't know how that's even possible.
Well, she's the same age as Gerald. Are you talking about Dorothy Allison?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the same age as Gerald Sim. They were both born in 1925.
Gerald Sim, I don't know. Then he looks old too.
Yeah, they were both born in 1925. Yeah, and so when this movie was made, they're 46?
46,
45?
sorry.
45 when it was made?
43 are close enough to not be 62. She looks 62.
Yeah. Gerald Sim is basically my age in this movie.
Well, John, I don't know if it's a compliment, but you look way better than Gerald Sim.
Well, it's okay. I'm pretty sure I'm 4 years older than fucking Wilford Brimley was in The Natural. So
Wilford Brimley in The Thing was 22.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked 48 when he was born.
Yeah. And I don't want to hear the diabetes bullshit because I'm diabetic too. So fuck that.
No, Wilford Brimley he must have had a hard childhood.
He had something.
Sharecropping or some shit. I don't know.
Sharecropping?
I have no idea. All right. So let's get into this movie. We kind of get a situation where The movie starts at a point that's kind of like towards the end. We get to kind of go
Very
back.
Quentin Tarantino.
It is. It's very Tarantino.
He starts writing a memoir.
It's a memoir. But as we begin the movie, we see streets of London.
Yeah.
We have singing prostitutes. We have hot potatoes. And
no hot potatoes yet, but they're there.
It
They
happens.
just haven't gotten on film
You
yet.
feel them. They're part of the mise en
Feel the
scène.
warmth.
You know?
I can smell the potato aroma.
Yeah.
But we also have prostitutes milling about, and we have a gentleman.
Don't forget the blind guy begging for alms.
John Lennon with some reflective glasses is begging.
He had an organ to grind,
and he did. And I think we know if it's 1800s London and there's somebody skulking about in like a black cape and a top hat, that it's got to be Jack the Ripper, right? It's Jack the Ripper. So we see our first scene of a attack. It's actually a pretty good scene. Gets a prostitute into an alleyway, and it's a pretty stylish scene where he's stabbing and slashing her, and her blood is splattering across a wanted poster of Jack the Ripper.
Whitechapel murderer sign.
But there's also like only 3 alleyways, and he doesn't even like go. At least by the time they got budget to do sort of slightly bigger things with Jack the Ripper in later movie adaptations, he's off down a definite dark alleyway or under a tunnel or something like this. This is just round the corner. And because there happens to be a bit of a fog, which London was well known as pea super was what they used to call it. It's a real pea super.
Foggy London town.
Yeah, foggy London town. Then he can hide murdering a prostitute. But really, he's just round the corner from his apartment, and he really should have gone a bit further afield.
I'm pretty sure everywhere they are in this movie is just around the corner from his apartment. It's literally the same set over and over and over.
He just walks out of his apartment. They're singing prostitutes.
Just from a different angle.
Yep. Potatoes flying around.
I'm surprised there wasn't like a strong man and a dwarf like walking around.
Lloyd, I got a question for you.
Mustache.
I have a question.
Okay, I had a question for you.
Please, man.
All right, go ahead.
No, you go. It might be the same question.
Right. The Whitechapel murder signs that's on there, and he's clearly, or at least in my opinion, he's murdering people and using the Jack the Ripper sort of as just his alibi, right? So I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be Jack the Ripper or if he's just doing these conveniently at the time of Jack the Ripper.
I didn't think about that, but I think he's Jack the Ripper.
He's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. I think it just turns out to be...
Or she's Jack the Ripper. Whatever.
Right. I think it turns out to be that Jack the Ripper just wasn't... It wasn't just about murdering, right? It was, there was a purpose behind it. Now,
But I know what you mean. There's a weird thing at the end where I think it's the blind guy says something like, the murders the doctor is doing is surprisingly similar to the Jack the Ripper murders, which makes it feel like there's more than one, but I think it's just,
See, I thought what the blind guy said was the way that these murders are happening reminds me of how a guy I used to work for, aka Jekyll, used to cut bodies up.
Right.
That's what, because it's
definitely him.
Yeah.
Quell it all right now. He is definitely Jack the Ripper.
Now, Manster, my question for you is, after he kills this prostitute and throughout the movie, he has a little ice box with him. What is he putting in there? Is this the Pulp Fiction suitcase? Is it like her estrogen gland? Are we supposed to know?
In my mind, it's the pineapple gland. He's cutting out the pineapple gland, and that's what he's doing.
From beyond the pineal gland. Okay. I thought the same thing. Is there something, because they make it a point to never show it.
Show it.
Right. But they say what he needs is the blood, but I don't.
No, I think they get around basically saying what he needs is like the vaginal area. the thing that makes them
out the flaps.
Inherently women. Yeah, I don't know that it's the vulva that he's all about, but I mean, he probably has that on toast afterwards, or maybe on a baked potato as a
lucky day. This one has a clit.
His hands are so bloody, and yet when he nothing he touches
doesn't use the soap, and he doesn't use the soap. Did you notice that when he washes his hands?
Right,
just runs them under the water. Soap is right there,
and
he just runs them under the water, and then just fucking walks away.
Doesn't wash off the blood at all.
He doesn't even not use soap. he runs the blade underwater and wipes it down with his fingers. It's a fucking blade.
Yeah.
Be careful, dude. He's not being careful at all.
Then he wipes his hands on a white towel.
Yeah, white towel.
Yeah, that ain't coming out. You know what I mean? Certainly not back then. They didn't have OxyClean or whatever.
No, Billy. What was his name?
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays. Billy Mays
here.
So anyway, so he goes back and now he sits down at his study. He has like this kind of like back entryway to his lab, sits down and he says, I'm going to tell a story. This is how my life got turned upside down. It's the Fresh
your
Prince.
auntie and uncle in Bel Air.
That's it. It's the Fresh Prince. So he starts to write out a story. We go back a little bit.
If the Fresh Prince was quaffing vagina.
Absolutely.
And doing weird experiments.
Amongst singing prostitutes and hot potatoes.
We go back to a little bit and we find out that Dr. Jekyll has been working on, he's basically like a disease doctor. He is someone who's looking at cholera, he's looking at diphtheria, he's looking at hoof and mouth
typhoid,
disease.
typhus.
He's trying to figure all these things out. And we also find out that this man...
He's trying to figure out one cure for all of them.
One cure for all, or going one at a time. And this is how we find out that this Dr. Jekyll is the most easily shaken guy on earth, because one comment by his buddy... Professor, what is his name? Robertson or whatever, just fucking blows this guy's mind away. Robertson comes to visit him.
Right.
And
he wants to bang every single woman like he
everyone.
encounters.
But he also seems to bang every single woman. He's like,
that's true.
He makes comments. He's like, oh, she, I had her last week or whatever. So, John, what does he say to Jekyll about his research that just like fucking shatters Jekyll's world?
Well, he says that basically just to cure one of the 15 diseases he rattles off is going to take him like 2 years. Right. And if he keeps trying to cure each disease individually, that's going to be like 40 times 2. It's going to be like forever. It's going to take his entire life. So the moment he leaves, Jekyll is like, well, maybe if I just live forever, maybe if I figure out a way to live forever. Yeah. And his theory here is that...
Okay, Voldemort, chill the fuck out.
Yes, is that women don't go bald, so therefore women live longer. That's his whole theory.
Their skin
it's sound. Supple. It's all sound. It's very sound.
Yeah. He literally gets super depressed over the fact that he has been told
this
that
old shithead.
Right. Yeah. His life's work is could still amount to like an amazing future, but he'll be dead not to see it. Yeah. So he decides.
But 2 years, that's way aggressive to solve, to cure a disease.
Well, I mean,
in your own, in this goofy little
with purple and green bubbling water.
Look, let's be honest though. In one day, essentially, or like what is it, a week's time, he discovers how to change his dick into a vagina. Magically.
He does have some accelerated potion there.
So he starts to, like John said, he just goes from 0 to 100. Yeah. So, okay, I'm not going to be able to get all this done by the time I die. So instead of going, okay, I'm going to focus severely on like typhoid. No, he goes, I'm going to live forever. And he starts to like fucking like mix up some potions and Larry, what is his little experiment on a fly? What does he do?
Oh,
he falls asleep.
Yeah, he does, but he introduces my cats are fighting each other. He introduces the vaginal blood or whatever to the flies and he thinks that he's given it like more life because the fly only lives for a few hours. And when he tells Robertson's like, oh, well, that's a female anyway. He's like, no, it's a male. I love that they're very certain over the gender of this fucking fly, first of all.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, then where did the eggs come from? So he basically managed to change the male. Well, he did make it live longer, but he changed the male fly into a female.
What's weird about it is this. The female thing is, I mean, what's weird about all of it?
You're going to nail this down right now? Go ahead.
But the female thing is intrinsic to his plan at the beginning because he's like, women live longer and they don't go bald or whatever. And then so he's like, fine. And yet, the living longer, the female thing is almost treated, especially in the fly situation, but also later on, as a side effect of the living longer. like he doesn't expect that if he takes the potion, he's going to become a woman. He just thinks he's going to live longer. And then suddenly he becomes a woman. He goes, wait, no, is this a side of, like, almost like one of those drugs that you see on TV. And they're like, side effect is swelling of the neck, oranging of the face, ruptured knees, liver damage, and you'll get a vagina. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's a side effect of restless leg syndrome or something.
Suicidal thoughts, and you've got a pussy now.
Yeah, suicidal thoughts, and you can flick your own bean.
Right.
He's all disheveled. He's been working for a week straight. He hasn't slept in 3 days. This male fly has turned to a female fly because he introduced his little elixir to it. Meanwhile, Manster kind of explained to us what's going on upstairs. Who's living upstairs, and what's the deal with these folks?
Well, you've got the elderly mother who's 40 years old. Her daughter,
how's she even still alive at that age?
Yeah, right.
Is she supposed to be like? Just a question: is she supposed to be infirm or not be able to move because she only sits down? Never.
She doesn't seem like it. She's pretty agile. She's sewing and doing stuff with her hands. So I don't know. And her brother Howard, and it's funny. She, like you said before, she just wants to keep an eye on everything that Jekyll's doing, and she feels like they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and they've never even met. She wants to know where he's going at night and all this stuff. And one thing I found very curious, she's like, well, I'm much older than he is. She looks like she's 18.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy looks at least 35.
Yeah.
Well, he looks like Ray Davies from the Kinks is what he looks like.
Yeah. So here's what I
don't know where that
looks like a
from,
distant relative of what's his name to me? Fucking James McAvoy. Doesn't he have? He looks like James McAvoy.
Okay. Well, I have another one. This entire movie. So we have 3 different ones now.
Okay.
For me, wearing a page boy wig, it's the guy who played Howlin' Mad Murdoch on the A-Team. It's Dwight.
Dwight Schultz.
This is Dwight Schultz with a wig on.
That's a good one.
I think we're all right to some extent for sure.
Yeah.
So she's like really focused on him, and every interaction she has with him goes one of 2 ways. He slams the door when she sees him, or he's kind of like off-puttingly like dismissive of her. But then eventually he is sort of friendly to her.
Yeah.
Which now gives her carte blanche to start just barging in his fucking door.
Yeah, everyone walks in his house.
Like, and he's desperately trying to get that like top lock done. I realized something about this movie today that I didn't realize last night. So eventually we're going to get into him, and we know where this is going. He's going to start changing genders, but structure of this movie is an episode of Three's Company, because it's constantly she wants to go see him, but it's her. And then when Howard becomes infatuated with her, it's him. And they're both in love with the same person. It's an episode of Three's Company. Every episode of Three's Company is based on an entirely too easy to solve misunderstanding that takes up 22 minutes of time to figure out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's a missing scene in this movie where he keeps changing back from male to female, but having to run behind a curtain while one or the other of whether it's the brother or the sister from upstairs, either one, is sat on the couch and they're trying to make tea, but he's running out and going, "Oh, I'm very sorry. My sister will have to do that for you." And he runs back into the kitchen, changes into his sister. She runs out and goes, "What are you doing here? I wanted the brother." And then, he runs out again and comes back. Maybe he runs in and he's still wearing a dress, but he's him now.
Meanwhile, the studio audience is laughing hysterically.
Yeah, right. A priest comes in and his trousers fall down. That kind of thing. There's some kind of farcical running about and screaming. Yeah,
I watched this with Heather, and she made a joke that it reminded her of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
Like just like that, like the whole changing in the other room. And, all that shit.
Oh, hello.
He puts his face in a cake. I'll just be a moment. Yeah.
All right. So Larry,
he's doing that Python voice, Sorry, carry on.
No. All right, Larry. So he changes the sex of the fly.
Yeah.
But he realizes, so let's eventually he gets frustrated and he tries the elixir on himself, and we get a pretty cool scene, right, where we see the hands change and he becomes the sex pot that is Mrs. Hyde.
Yeah.
Right? Martine Brestwick, Mrs. Hyde, who because he has to pass this whole thing off in a Jack Tripper fashion, tells people, and I didn't realize it until watching the movie. I thought Sister Hyde was a funny way of making it like, well, no, making it like, oh, this time it's a woman. She's literally supposed to be his sister. So I thought that was interesting. The first transformation happens and she kind of disappears quickly. So he decides that he needs to get more of this female, whatever, the estrogen, whatever. But he doesn't want to be a killer. So what does he decide to do? Who does he decide to hire?
Well, so he talks to, what is his mortician friend or whatever that guy is?
That creepy dude.
The creepiest line in any movie I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
In a long time. When he says, make sure that, when he's looking for bodies, make sure they're 20 or below. And the guy goes, it's just the way I like him.
Yeah.
I went, shit.
That's pretty.
Or there's the other scene where he's like, take your pick of these women, but I'm kind of fond of
this one. Yeah. Leave this one behind if you would. So he asks the mortician if, how he can go about getting some fresh women. He never really, I don't know if he ever really spells out, if he ever actually says on camera what he's looking for. But the mortician knows these guys, Burke and Hare, who can help him achieve his desires. And Burke and Hare, like we mentioned earlier, is a real case of British grave robbers / murderers from decades before this took place, but
in
still
Scotland too. And not,
but like we mentioned, they're jamming every possible European scenario into one film and timeline. Yeah. So they threw Burke and Hare into the mix and like, we got these. I got these guys that can help you out, and he puts them in touch with them, and they deliver. They're kind of portrayed as, I guess, kind of Cockney guys. They're ruffians. They're grave robbers / murderers. Yeah, one's educated. One's educated. It's essentially Pinky and the Brain, right?
Well, didn't they start because they were in the real story? They were getting cadavers for like a medical school or something,
which was very normal, very common.
And then they realized that they needed more and more specific things, and when they couldn't find them in graves, they went and started murdering people.
Doctors in England and America back then would spend good money for any fuckhead who would show up with a corpse, no questions asked. Like,
I like that one line. The one guy said, I don't know if it was Burke or Hare, but like,
doesn't really matter.
Like progress has its price or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real story I found pretty interesting. I read up on it. So it's Scotland in the early 1800s. They started as grave robbers and then eventually moved into murder. And then when it all went down, when they got caught, Hare turned on Burke, and Hare got released because there was no, I guess, evidence that he was actually involved. He said it was all Burke. Burke got hung in real life, and part of his sentencing was that, like 2 days after he was hung, he was, what do you want to call it? They fucking opened him up, and in public, like in a theater setting, they autopsied him, and I guess there was a picture of it. His skeleton is on display in Scotland somewhere. Hare was like the OG turncoat. He got up on the stand. They said there was a whole thing where Hare had his wife and his infant son on the stand, like trying to like get people's, what's the word? Empathy. And, so it's pretty crazy, but these guys start killing and supplying,
killing in the name of.
That's right. Supplying Jekyll with more bodies. Jekyll is, getting more and more used to using this elixir to the point where, we have a couple of scenes where he turns to the female Hyde, and he's got to suddenly, he rips a curtain, she rips a curtain down to cover herself up, and he starts to go on Amazon.com and order women's clothes.
Yeah. Nothing he can do about his man hands, though.
No. And it seems like every time he goes a little bit further. But meanwhile, as we mentioned before, Susan is obsessed with him, but now the brother is suddenly becoming obsessed with Edwina Hyde. So we have is that a triangle or is that four? Is that a quadrangle?
It's like a square triangle. Four-sided triangle.
Yeah, it's a Fours Company episode.
Yeah.
Well, we needed to have a scene where when she was making out with him on the couch, where like she started to turn back, but she was turning back from like the feet up. So he started to feel Dr. Jekyll's erection while she was still female on top, but he was male underneath. They needed that scene, I think, to kind of fulfill the.
I know this is a movie from 1971. I know that, I was
like, what's that in your pocket?
I was wondering how far this movie was going to go. Honestly, with all of that kind of gender bending stuff, I was wondering when they were making out. So there's a scene where the brother ends up in, I guess, I would say in bed, but they're actually on like a fucking an old tiny
chaise
couch.
long kind of thing.
Yeah, where they're doing a little bit of smooching, and I was like, oh shit, is this going to turn into two guys smooching? We didn't go that far. Go that far. But eventually, Burke and Hare are caught for their murders. John, I got a question for you. I think this is a real important question.
Yeah.
In any of your time in England, were you ever close enough to a cop while he was blowing a whistle to hear it?
No.
God damn it.
I don't. I mean, maybe they still have whistles, but no, I don't think they blow whistles anymore.
Those British cops love those whistles.
They still wear the big. I don't think they had them in this movie, but they still wear the big like bobby booby hats, the big helmet things that kind of stick up. They certainly did with it when I was growing up. But it's weird now because every time I go back to England and I'm predominantly in London and I'm hanging out, there are a lot more like cops, the armed cops and things like now more than ever before. And I don't mean like regular bobbies, but people in like vests with guns and whatever. Like it's not like the, oh, you there, rotter, come back. I'll hit you with this little rubber stick. Like there's no, yeah. That was more when I was growing up, but not so much anymore. Then now they have all caps and things. I think it's all got a bit sexy for my liking. Police should be, stuffy old guys in tunics and, booby hats. But one thing I did want to point out on the whole Burke and Hare thing, just extra reading, if you like, for the listening several. If you are fans of British horror and if you are fans of Hammer horror, although it is not a Hammer horror film, it is Hammer adjacent. There is a Burke and Hare film from 1960 called The Flesh and the Fiends with Peter Cushing, Donald Pleasance, and Billy Whitelaw in it, which is fantastic and is out on, I think Kino Lorber put it out on Blu-ray.
Oh, shit.
But The Flesh and the Fiends would be extra viewing if you're interested in the Burke and Hare story. And Donald Pleasance plays William Hare.
Nice.
Interesting. Okay.
I shot him 6 times.
6 times. So
excuse me, sir. We can't use this body. It's all torn apart. I shot him 6 times. It's a terrible.
He's not a man. Yeah.
The devil's eyes.
The devil's eyes.
He should have been in this movie. Pleasant should be in every movie, by the way. I'm the biggest Donald Pleasance fan. But he should have just walked past the window at one point when he was like mid-change. Just go, he's not a man. Like that.
Hey, Burke, get your ass away from there.
I gotta ask about Burke and Hare's.
Franz the Loomis.
I gotta ask about Burke and Hare's demise. So they get caught, and Burke ends up getting lynched by a mob. What is the mob?
Apparently by a drunken prostitute. Look at him up there, swinging him out.
What does the mob do to Hare? And what are lime pits?
In a lime pit.
Is that a thing in London? Like, because they say it was
random pits of lime.
They threw him in the lime pit.
Pits are like used for tanning hides, like animal hides and stuff, to get the hair.
Yeah, but wasn't it called like the Limehouse district? Like, wasn't that sort of the area at the time? And don't they make isn't lime? No, I'm getting confused. Didn't they use lime for
Corona? Usually, you put it on top of it.
You put the lime in the coconut.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I'm getting confused with lye. I thought it was that thing.
Yeah, no, lye is different. But lime is very caustic. It can be caustic and it can burn the skin and the eyes and all that.
Okay, so that's what it was. Like
they just had random piles of it, laying around.
But it's known as the Limehouse district, so I'm sure there's some connection there.
Torture for him was they threw him in that pile and it burns him.
It burns him. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't 100% sure of that. Okay, so once they're dead, he's all dried up. He has to start figuring out because he's now becoming kind of addicted to taking the serum. He's got to figure out, and this is where he suddenly makes up the whole Jack the Ripper persona. there's not a lot in here about that. Like he suddenly goes out and starts.
He's like, well, I got a top hat and a cloak. What am I going to do with it? You know,
right? This is my last year's Halloween costume, and now I'm going to go out and start murdering women with it. He gets a blonde woman of the night, and she brings him back to her place. And I had to point out, like, how much of a pain in the ass was it getting dressed and undressed in 1800s, man? Like,
oh my God,
he's got to have
the laces and
so much clothes.
She's got on. It takes her 12 minutes to get naked. She never gets naked. She's about to get naked. He starts to cut her the laces off of her fucking bustier or whatever that is, and then he just stabs her.
John, Jesus Christ.
I wasn't in the 1800s.
How uncouth.
But it makes me laugh because in From Hell, the Jack the Ripper adaptation, the comic book adaptation that they did with Johnny Depp and Heather Graham, in that, all the prostitutes who were again dressed as, in period costume with the lacy dresses and the corsets underneath and the petticoats and the bloomers and the whole bit, they all seem, they're all having sex up against walls and up against gates and things. And I'm like, no. There's like 17 layers of fabric that you'd have to figure out. It's not just, I'll just pull my panties aside. There's fucking bloomers and petticoats and, it's ridiculous. So they would have had to have gone somewhere. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. Maybe they were just doing it in the street. I don't know. No idea.
I gotta be honest. It'd be an instant boner killer if, like, you're getting it, you're getting ready with it.
Then you have to wait.
Well, no, not even that. Like, just if a woman ever said to me, like, tear my fucking bloomers off, it'd be over. The word bloomers is like a fucking nuclear detonation to my libido. I want her to say all the dirty shit to me, and then once she says, like, pull my fucking bloomers around my ankles, I'm going home. I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna go to the potato guy. I'm gonna get two. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna listen to War of the Worlds on the phonograph, whatever the fuck they did.
Utah,
timey, yeah.
Utah, give me two.
Give me two.
Up top, and he just go long. I don't really understand it, but clearly a pain in the ass to have any kind of nookie back then, and that's probably why the English are the way they are. We they didn't have a lot of sex back then, and if they did, it was probably really unfulfilling.
All right, Manster, where we're at now, he's been killing for a little bit. He's currently avoiding level 5, stage 5 Klinger, but also at the same time, Hyde is not necessarily friendly to him, right? Like, what's the whole vibe with Hyde and his relationship?
Like, they're struggling now. So now there's a personality struggle, and Hyde basically wants to take over.
Right, and she's got a murder boner. She starts doing the murdering. Right.
Well, there's one point where they kind of catch up with him, and then you see him go, "Oh yeah, they're looking for a man," and then he changes into a woman, as if to be like, "Oh, here's my disguise: a woman who looks exactly like me, doing exactly what I've been doing." She goes off and starts killing people as well, and I think it becomes something of like just a kind of rinse and repeat slasher for sort of about 20 minutes there in the movie.
Yeah, there's a whole middle section where it's just him killing, her killing.
Yep.
But eventually, our professor, our dickhead professor friend Larry, gets a little too close. What happens to him? He
starts, for all of his dickiness, he's obviously a pretty bright guy. And he starts figuring out, I think my friend is involved in this. I'm going to pop over by the house. He pops over after he's sitting with the alcoholic cop in the car, right? When they're casing the house. They're casing the house, and this guy's just throwing back flask after flask. He's like, it'd be fucking great if you weren't drunk while we tried to stake out this house. And they notice that there's a woman inside, right? They can see the shape of a woman rather than the shape of Dr. Jekyll. So he's like, let me go check this out. He goes to the door.
Gerald Simmons like, there's a woman inside. That's for me. I better go check it out.
I bet my fucking boner alarm's going off. Let me fucking follow the head of this dick to the door and fucking get in there.
I'd like to see what kind of bloomers she's got on.
Yeah. So she opens. Jekyll Edwina opens the door and lets him in. and he's talking. He's like, "Oh, I've something of a problem with my friend, and I've figured something out that I really need to talk to him about." He's turned around pouring himself a brandy. She's just stripping down. She's just like, yep, getting naked behind him. He has no fucking idea. He turns around, and then rather than act shocked or say, "My dear, what are you doing?" he just immediately starts making out with her.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I love this lady. We should spend more time together."
Yeah.
He's my clothes also come off quickly. Look at it. Zip.
Yeah, probably quicker than hers. So he starts going to town, and then she takes this as an opportunity to stab him several times in the back.
She stabbed
It
him
looks like she's
downwards, but
down the spine.
Yeah.
It was a very strange angle.
It's a very loving stab.
Yeah.
Very loving angle. But then she stabbed him off camera several times as well.
Yeah. Of course, it's at this point where it makes little to no sense because the last person you should.
And he's never mentioned again. The cop is not looking for him.
Right.
The drunk cop right outside never came to the door. I was like, I wonder what happened to him. Never.
The drunk cop
just made a lot of love, and he must have just fallen asleep or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe he went upstairs to have a go at the clinger.
The drunk cop is just barfing all over the town crier's fucking shoes.
The town crier.
Murder most horrifying. I'm like,
that guy. Who needs the internet?
I don't
that guy sing about what's happening in the street.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of times we're living in where we got to worry about CNN and Fox News and the internet and even to a smaller extent newspapers. I want a fat guy walking down my street going, car crash 2 streets over.
Well, it's like, has anyone seen the Oliver Twist adaptation, the musical with Harry Seacole?
One of my favorite musicals.
Me too, Larry. Absolutely one of my favorite things. But the whole one boy for sale. He's got the big coat on and the fucking sailor's hat and food. He's got a crook and a thing, and he's walking down the street. Because that's what used to happen in London when you wanted to sell a child. You just sang a song and walked down the street.
Do town criers in old-timey London, are they a real paper where it's different pages, obituary,
No, they just had one headline on a little thing stuck in a sign. And they were just like, there's been a murder.
53... died.
It was whatever was on the front page. It was just whatever was the main story. We used to just have one news story a week. That was it. That's how news used to be. It was blissful.
Around the time that guy was screaming about the news, wasn't the other guy running around talking about nut grinding? Nut grinding. Get your nuts grinded. It's I'm sorry, what's happening out there?
I will grind your nuts.
I was like, that doesn't sound pleasant at all.
Plain ass hot potatoes, 2 for a shilling. Go see Kurt over on the corner. Plain ass round hot potatoes.
Yeah.
I kind of loved all that stuff though. There needed to be,
too. 100%.
Yeah, there needed to be a woman banging a blanket or hitting a cat against the wall or something like that. There wasn't a crone. There needed to be a crone.
Right. Crone, yeah.
The only thing
I was looking for a pickpocket myself.
Yeah,
I was,
a pickpocket or a crone would have been,
yeah. Go see the magistrate. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Manster, where we're at in the story now.
Who the fuck knows where
I'm not even sure where the hell we're
listen,
at.
I'm gonna get us to where we're heading. That's
Thank
right. Put your trust in me. All hopped up on hot potatoes. All right, Manster. So now we're at the point where eventually, for some reason or another, Jekyll agrees to go see Creed and Three Doors Down with the girl upstairs, right? She's
with the clinger.
She's like, we're going to go to a concert tonight. And he's like, abso-fucking-lutely. I don't know why, but he decides that he's going to.
I fucking love that, Larry. I love that you like that and you've seen it.
I'll see it, dude. I watch it religiously.
Oh, no. Larry, I have never seen Oliver in any way, shape, or form. And Larry,
come on now, consider yourself.
I know it.
Consider yourself part of the family.
The whole of London knows the lyrics.
Oh, it's the best.
It's the best.
So, Master, they're going to go to this thing, but all of a sudden he loses total interest in her again. What happens?
Yeah, doesn't he put on Mrs. Hyde's clothes?
Yes. He's getting ready for the date, and he accidentally reaches into her dresser.
Yeah.
And he pulls out her dress, and he's like, fuck! He like has like a fucking flashback or some shit. And then I think at this point, are we inferring that she can now just change whenever she wants to change?
Yeah, we don't need the serum anymore.
Right.
We don't need to be consuming vaginas.
Just change.
The brother comes home, and he actually does say something John said before. He said, it's thick as pea soup out there.
Yeah.
And she seems to be embarrassed of the fact that after she bragged about how she's going to see Sugar Ray and fucking, I don't know, 311 with her new beau, that now he's not answering the door. So she's like, I'm going to go walk to the fucking Harvard Civic Center by myself.
Yeah.
In this, and this is what sets up kind of our final like run into, I get, this is like the very slashery scene of the movie is Edwina Hyde chases her through the streets, right, Larry? Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like, enough of this fucking clingy bitch.
Right.
Fucking stab her in the back.
So she chases her through the streets, and she is just about to stab her manster, but what stops her?
Didn't she just stop herself? Like Hyde did Jekyll?
Jekyll and her suddenly have this whole thing where like the control is
fighting over the body.
Back and forth, right? Back and forth. Now I'm stressing to remember how does he end up?
He ends up on a building.
On the building. How does he end up on the building?
He gets back to his apartment, whatever. It's back to where he's writing at the beginning. Like now we're back. Right. We're back in time to where he started to write. So he finishes his writing about what he's going through, and the cops, the blind man, leads the cops to his house because the blind man tells the cops, "Hey, I used to work for a doctor who fucking does, cuts people like this." Or how the fuck he knows. He's all hopped up on potatoes or something, but he leads
smell him.
He's had his nuts grinded way too many times. Yeah, he leads the cops back to Jekyll's house, and they're banging on the door. He's like, "Oh, I better fucking finish writing this." But he leaves the stuff there and spills acid on it or something, and it starts melting. Anyway, he's trying to get out of the house, away from the cops. Opens the back door. Cops are right there, so he pulls that shut. And he finds some area where there's a ladder, and he climbs up to like the roof, and then he's like hanging from. It's very, very Bill Sykes, Oliver type ending. Spoiler alert if you've never seen Oliver.
This is the longest scene of somebody hanging onto a ledge.
Yeah,
I've ever seen in a movie.
Amazing fingertip strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also because it's meant to be swapping between the two. So the scene is it's a little clear, but not little clear. Like you see her hands and you see his hands and you see her hands. And it's meant to be that they're kind of, that's why it takes so long, is because it's meant to be kind of that dramatic moment where if you had the special effects, you'd be like, wiping your head one way and it'd be the woman and wiping your head the other way and it'd be the guy. But like, they don't really do that. They just try and kind of indicate that they're kind of fighting internally with each other. And then when he falls from the building, you notice that, not to give it away, but I'm going to spoil the ending, I guess. Spoilers, that when he hits the ground, his face is like half female, half male.
I thought it was fucking Sloth from the Goonies, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I get what they're going for. Yeah. He lands and he's got like kind of this like half and half face, and the denizens of old timey London drop their potatoes long enough to be like, what the fuck is happening here? and so that is that the very end?
You get the hard credits right after, he falls, stage 5 Klinger cries, and then the credits roll.
Yeah. She's brutal. She is. You have to see.
She barely knows him, and she's just fucking weeping.
So upset.
The only time they were supposed to go out, he fucking didn't even show up. She's like, he's outside calling a cab. No, he's not.
And that's actually the reason why. It just reminded me why Edwina Hyde is chasing her at the end is because she determines that she's a virgin, so her blood essence will be enough to keep her probably full-time Hyde.
Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is there was a way to solve both problems, and that was keep Professor Robertson alive. And when he got all horned up over Hyde, instead send him upstairs to the Klinger he could have started banging the Klinger, and then she wouldn't have had to have killed him. She wouldn't have had to have stalked the Klinger. She could have just carried on doing whatever she was doing. Because Professor Robertson was just like, oh, there's another filly upstairs. Oh, yes, let me go have a crack at that. You know what I mean? But then he kills him and then has to go kill the woman.
Can you imagine if Jekyll had banged her? She would have been in his life for fucking ever.
Right.
Imagine, again, like, what were the contraceptive methods back then? The rhythm method? He would have gotten her pregnant, and it would have just been a nightmare for him. It would have been a nightmare for him. All right, so that is 1971's Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. Let's do it. Let's talk about our favorite kill.
Officer Hawkins, tell me what happened in here. Tell me what happened. Did Michael kill? Did Michael kill again?
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll go first. I think my favorite kill in this film, I'm going to go with the first murder of a prostitute in the alleyway, just because I liked the style of the blood splash across the poster. I thought that was pretty fucking good. The long, thin blade, it kind of had all of the aesthetics of what you think of Jack the Ripper, the top hat, so it was just a cool scene anyways, and it incorporates it's a Jekyll and Hyde story, and as we mentioned, it incorporates a whole nother element with the Jack the Ripper stuff. Mm-hmm. But that is my choice for favorite kill of this movie. Manster, what do you got?
Yeah, I like that one actually the best too. But I'll just do a backup. So when Professor Robertson got lovingly stabbed, like gently through the spine. Yeah, I'll go with that one.
The straight down stabbing?
Yeah.
All right, John, what do you got?
Well, it doesn't end up with a kill, so it's a bit of a cheat, but I do really like the final sequence where he's stalking the Klinger, because I like the way it's filmed. I like the fog. I like the build up, the atmosphere, and everything. I just think it's like really nicely done as they move. And I know it doesn't end up in a kill, but it's predicated that that's what he's going to do. And I just think that's it's just a well shot sequence. It's just it knows how to pace itself, and you've got Hyde, and Hyde is unpredictable, and you don't know what's going to happen. So I quite like that.
All right, fair enough. Larry, what do you got?
There's a kill, and it's one of the, it goes through like 20 minutes of this movie where just people are getting killed left and right. You don't even know who the fuck they are. But there is one really good kill where the blade of the knife comes through the front of the girl's throat.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Okay. I don't know who the fuck the girl, probably just a random singing prostitute. Probably went through the throat to get her to stop singing, I would assume.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I literally watched this last night. Why do I not remember that? Now I have to go back and rewatch it again.
Yeah, it's a really good, like I guess she stabs her in the back of the neck, and you just see which I thought for 1971 was a lot. I was like, wow, that's very Prowler-ish, it was a good kill.
All right, let's do it. Let's rate this fucking thing.
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight.
Larry, what are we rating this film on a scale of?
Oh, I think we got to go hot potatoes.
Potatoes.
Yeah, we do.
It's only fair. All right, so 0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale. Optional on a scale of hot potatoes. Manster, what do you give 1971's Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde?
Yeah, I'm not even going to wait for it. I'm not going to do a big, long explanation. I'm just going to go straight up 4 out of 5.
Ooh.
It's just a really fun movie, I think. I love the incorporation of the historical mishmash of everything, the times being all different and everything, and locations. But and then, of course, the gender bender twist. Hey, the nipples. I'll say it. That was fun.
I was hoping for a lot more big British titties in this thing, but
yeah,
fine, good enough.
We're getting there. Once we get to the Karnstein trilogy, we'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She's got big British nipples, just not big British breasts.
Right.
Yeah, the Orioles. And I like the duality kind of
Lloyd,
theme in the mirrors. Yeah,
Lloyd, did you call her areolas Orioles?
Yeah, Orioles. No,
okay.
areolas.
Okay,
I don't know. Maybe it came out different.
Orioles are birds.
Yes.
So he said Oreos, like the cookie.
Oh, Oreo. Oreo. I'm sorry, Lloyd. Continue. I'm sorry.
Oreo with a cherry on top.
And I think there's just a touch of class in the movie because you got you've got the duality themes, the good and evil, and you've got the mirror, and you got that scene where the mirror's cracked and the faces are in the mirror. So I think it adds a touch of class. I liked it. So yeah, straight up 4.
All right. John Cross from across the pond. John across the pond. That's just the perfect name right there. What do you give recently added to your I guess viewing pleasure and collection Hammer film? What do you give Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde?
Well, I'm going to go right ahead and say 4 hot potatoes out of 5, definitely. The brief explanation is that yes, it's an incredibly fun film. I love all the mismatch of different Victorian stuff all kind of slammed together. In fact, I wish they'd gone further. Like I said before, I wish they'd had Sherlock Holmes and organ grinders and everything. Like, let's just completely go nuts. It lacks conviction in a lot of the idea. It presents a lot of really great ideas, and it presents a lot of ideas in like interesting ways, but it never really sees through any of them. You know what I mean? It never really kind of like caps or fully explains or fully goes into like, yes, it's gender bending. Yes, there's some sexual politics there. Yes, there's some, some undertone and some themes, but I don't feel like it really explores any of it, which is absolutely fine. I'm not necessarily looking for a Hammer horror film to do that, but I think that there is and I'm not a big fan of remakes, but I definitely think there is a story somewhere that uses this as its jumping off point that could possibly be, a lot more powerful when it comes to actually like exploring some of the themes. However, that aside, I think that there is so much fun here. There is so many great shots and set pieces and build-ups. There's some really nice effects, even down to the whole, like, when she first turns into Miss Sister Hyde, and she's like looking at herself and looking at her breasts and kind of thinking about like what this means and everything. And then she starts to change back. And I know it's like a little cheeky shot of like his hand on her breast, but it's like a really nice way to kind of show that transition. It's just like someone thought about it. Yes, it's a cheeky, naughty, sexy, kind of, whatever way to show it. But it's also the way they do it is nice. There's a lot of great characters in here. It's a lot of fun. The mortician is particularly creepy and wonderful. And it's just a good romp. And therefore it comes squarely into my probably my top 6 Hammer films. It's probably in my top 6 or top 7, something like that.
Okay. All right. I'll go next. I'm not as high. I did enjoy this. I love the intermingling of all the different elements, like you mentioned, like Jack the Ripper story kind of being incorporated into the Jekyll and Hyde story, and it actually not being the mystery of what Jack the Ripper really was is, probably not as interesting as thinking that it was Dr. Jekyll using it as a cover just to get more, estrogen or whatever. That's pretty interesting. The Burke and Hare stuff is interesting. Like you said, the kind of a vortex of all these different elements of old-timey London and Britain coming together. I think there is a big portion in the middle where it kind of just becomes like, okay, well, she's killing, he's killing, she's killing, he's killing. The production, I read, a blurb about it where they're saying, like typical kind of like shoddy Hammer production. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it looked good. I liked the practical effect of, the little things, like you said, like when he changes, like, you just see like the female hand come out of the sleeve and then what's happening. It's 1971. You're not going to get like CGI or something really too advanced, but that was pretty good. It actually did a pretty good job. And like Manster said, the mirror scenes, but, I don't know. I feel like we're 2 movies in, and I felt like even though I think the ideas behind this movie were interesting, I feel like I was more invested in The Devil Rides Out. And I don't know, maybe the story was a little bit more, I don't want to say the story of Jekyll and Hyde with the Jack the Ripper stuff isn't original, because that's an interesting take on it, but I just felt like The Devil Rides Out, I guess, had more going for it for me. So I'm going to go three hot potatoes. Yeah, I'm going to go, did I say 3 and a quarter to begin with, or did I say 3? I'm going to go 3. 3 is my final answer.
One thing I just want to say, I don't think we've really touched on it. The likeliness between the 2 actors is uncanny. The male and female.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel too much. I felt like she was clearly hot, but she was like 1971 hot, and I could see where maybe a little bit of the masculineness could be seen in her face.
Yeah, I see a striking resemblance myself.
Yeah, they look pretty similar. In fact, one of the best effects in it, in a weird way, is when she first turns, she has his hair, and then she like pulls her longer hair out from behind his hair, and it's really nicely done.
Yeah.
Like it's because you suddenly go, wait, she's just gonna have his Ray Davies hair the whole time, and no, she's like, but the way it's done, I thought was like really good. I know she obviously has a very prominent mole. He does as well, right? Is that the defining thing? Is that like
that's
yeah. So they've either given her a mole or given him a mole, or they both have a fake mole. But yeah.
All right, Scary Larry. It's the Scary Larry hour here.
Scary Larry hour and a half, right? Scary Larry hour and a half, something like that. Yeah. So, John, I get what you're saying. This is not as cohesive a film as Devil Rides Out, right? It takes some questionable narrative leaps, and it jumps back and forth, and it seems to be several different movies at times. But they're all movies that I enjoy. I enjoy the shit out of every part of this movie, whether it's, the serious slasher, the goofy Three's Company, like, Larry Dallas upstairs and, Jack and Chrissy downstairs. And are they going to fool Mr. Furley this time? And, it's very, it's all over the place. But like I said, I'm here for all of it. And I think that those different elements of it, though they're, not always woven perfectly together, I think it's what makes it a really fun movie for me. It's not really the same vibe throughout. It is kind of jumbled a little bit all over the place, but that's really what I love about it. It's wacky. It's funny. It's silly. I didn't know that John loved Oliver, one of my favorite movies, and just seeing it's like the same type of stuff, just it's so much like they're so over the top, Victorian era England. It's hysterical to see. I love it. This is definitely one of my favorite Hammer films, and like I said, I just wish I'd seen it sooner. I only discovered it a few years ago myself, but it's definitely in my top 10, and I'll give it four hot potatoes.
All right, so I kind of screwed the average up a little bit, but I did say solid. It was an enjoyable film. I definitely wouldn't have a problem recommending it to somebody to see something very interesting. Just don't expect a lot of big British titties, but apparently we're getting there.
Big British nipples. You can see some big British nipples.
You do, yeah. And when he does turn the first time, she does play with her nipple for like about 10 seconds. It's kind of nice. But Larry, we're coming up on episode 3 next.
Yeah.
What is the next film we will be talking about?
That's a great question. And the next film we will be getting into will be Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter.
All right. Yeah. I just by the title, I feel like this is one that I'm going to fucking dig a lot, but who knows?
I hope so.
So Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, coming soon. We'll get that one recorded for you fairly soon. Manster, tell everybody where they can find us. They already know. And then we're going to let John tell everybody all about his podcasts and what's going on in his life.
Yeah, you already know where you can find us. Any podcatcher you got. On YouTube, The Pint of Pop Culture Podcast, and on Instagram, it's at The Pint Pop, and you could be a Pint Insider at patreon.com/The Pint.
$2.50 a month. You get 2 full-length exclusive episodes. This is the month of May, so we are in Matthew McConaughey, and we will be talking about Reign of Fire and Sahara. So
Reign of Fire, an underappreciated gem, I think.
I just recorded that episode earlier tonight with my buddy Mike Wallace. Last year, during McConaughey, the first McConaughey, we did Serenity, a really weird fucking movie, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, which I bought it on Blu-ray after we watched it. He is insane in that movie. He's got a fucking remote control leg. Boom, I'm in. And Leatherface gets hit in the head with a plane, Larry? I don't even remember. What a weird fucking movie.
Yeah.
Is Serenity the real weird one with oh my god, I'm forgetting her name already. Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
That weird, like they tried to resurrect the 90s thriller and it didn't work.
And I don't want to spoil it in case anybody does want to watch it out there, but it has such a crazy twist ending to it. It's so out of left field. Yeah, it's like a 90s thriller, 90s noir type feeling movie, and then it just fucking takes a left turn and you're like, what is going on here? Yeah. All right, John, tell everybody all about all of your awesome stuff going on.
All right. So I'm going to be very quick because we've run long already, but basically check out the PM Entertainment Podcast. So wherever the words PM Entertainment Podcast are thrown together, you will find me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, all of the pod places that you could possibly want. PM Entertainment, for people who don't know, was a straight-to-video action production company between the late 80s and early 2000s. That basically gave the guy who would go on to do all the stunts and stuff for Fast and Furious and a few Marvel movies a chance to basically try out whatever car flipping, car exploding, people jumping off roofs type insane stunts that he could possibly want to do, coupled with giving weird people like C. Thomas Howell, Wings Hauser, Tracy Lords, and others leading roles in action movies and thrillers. Not to mention, of course, Final Impact with Larry's favorite, Lorenzo Lamas. So I will be covering at least one movie a week. We've also interviewed a ton of the people from behind the scenes, including the aforementioned stunt guy, Spiro Rosatos, who told us all about an insane stunt from the movie Rage. So check out the PM Entertainment Podcast. And then occasionally I will also be putting stuff out over at aftermoviediner.com, which is my main internet hub. If you go over to aftermoviediner.com, all my stuff is there.
All right. And give us one more time, because my girlfriend actually bought me a copy. I know Larry had bought a copy himself. The book that your buddy had written, that is like the anecdotal stories of the Hammer.
Oh, about the Hammer horror. Yeah. It's the bloke down the pub. I got to get the title correct, but it's 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves, or Larry, you say your bit and I'll bring the book back and we'll get the proper title, because I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll be back in a second.
Okay, Larry, Connecticut Cult Classics. It's May right now.
Yep.
So we have a show in June.
2 back-to-back, actually. Friday, June 13th, one-shot show. We're going to be doing Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Oh, fuck!
You've
Sorry,
heard of that?
I just fucking moistened my
Wow.
My bloomers have so much pudding in them right now.
Oh, so much pudding. and then Saturday, June 14th, double feature of David Lynch films. We'll be doing Eraserhead and Blue Velvet.
Okay. All right. Well, can I just ask, why is it 40th anniversary? Is that why you picked Part 5?
No, because we've already done 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
All right. All right. Okay.
And that's as far as I'll go.
Oh my God. I cannot fucking wait. It's not the best. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
I know it is.
All right. I'm so psyched. Great shows as always.
Yeah. So I have the book.
John, what is it called?
The book is called A Bloke Down the Pub Bangs On About Hammer Horror. And it's by my friend J.E.A. Wallace. That's what you would look up on Amazon to find it. But his name's Jim. And it's essentially a review of all 60 plus movies that are considered Hammer horror, because Hammer did make other things outside of horror films. But it's the 60 plus movies that are considered Hammer horror, written in the voice of a character of the pub gobshite, who is the guy who sits down the end of the bar. And if no one else is at the bar, sidles up next to you and starts to tell you all his theories about stuff. So it's got a little comedy. It's got a little, kind of fiction element to it, but it's also, I just think, a really cool way to approach reviewing like a section of movies like this. I just think it's a really cool way to do it. So yeah, A Bloke Down the Pub Bangs On About Hammer Horror, available on Amazon now for about $9, I think.
Yeah, it's a very cool book, very, very nicely put together. When I got my copy, I actually strangely opened up the back cover of it, And it's one of these books I'm assuming that Amazon has printed like on demand.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed when I opened my copy was it said printed in North Haven, Connecticut, which is the town next to my town.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's an Amazon facility there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But all right, check that book out. Check Connecticut Cult Classics out. Check out PM Entertainment and all that stuff. Check out The Pint. And Lloyd, say the words. I want to go.
See ya.
See ya.
We are leaving!